You're welcome back, and this is TV3 New Day. It's time now for the big issues. Good morning to you. If you just joined us, well, I hope that you had a good rest and you didn't have to deal with doomsday overnight. But I can bet you that sometime this week your lights will definitely go off. And we're going to be having a conversation on the way forward with regards to doomsday, or maybe government communicators would say this is not doomsday. So whatever name they'll give to it, I'm not sure if it will be doomsday or whatever. But we'll have a conversation about some comments that have been made by the finance minister. Yesterday, there was a press briefing that was held on the sidelines of the IMF World Bank spring meetings in Washington, D.C., where he talked about some two major things regarding some reformation happen with the ECG so that we can generate more revenue and, of course, ensure that we're able to consolidate all that revenue into one bank account. He says that there's going to be another audit on the cash waterfall mechanism, and that will be published. The findings of that report will be published for all to see and know exactly what the challenges are. There have been questions concerning this statement made by the finance minister, and we'll be delving deep into that. But before we get into it, good morning to you. If you're watching us on Facebook, we're grateful that you joined us. You can also join us on Facebook at TV3 Ghana. Just go on there, you'll find the live stream. Join us and let's have a good conversation. I look forward to the messages coming through while the conversation is happening live on TV3. So make sure you use the hashtag is TV3 New Day. You can also watch us on Twitter at TV3 Ghana, also on Instagram. Before I introduce my guest to you, let me just remind you that there's 4,000 Ghana cedis up for grabs this morning for 4 individuals. So each person is going to get 1,000 Ghana cedis. And that's only if you play cash out on the show. It's important that you play as many times as possible. So if this morning you've played only once and you're hoping you can win, I'm just reminding you that there's someone who's already played about 20 times this morning. And that person stands a better chance of winning that 1,000 Ghana cedis over you. So grab your phones, as long as you use MTN or Telecel, grab your phones now and dial *439# and just select option 2. Option 2 represents the platform on which you're playing, which is TV3. So just select option 2 and put your phone down for like 2 seconds or so, grab it again and play. Your chances are higher if you play as many times as possible, and that's the only way you can also be one of our that game. Also drop in those messages. We want to hear from you what your doomsday situation is like at the moment. In the studios, I have Wanda Madilo. He's a development analyst and also the Energy Committee member. For the NDC. Good morning.
Yes,
Sir.
I hope you're well.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm in the event of all this doomsday and blackout.
It's been really tough.
Yeah, it's been tough. Yesterday I came back from school and then the lights are off and you have to sleep in darkness until this morning and all that. It's been stressful. I think we never thought that we'll get to this level again because of the antecedents, the things that have happened in the past and how the previous government under John Mahama would try to resolve this power crisis. And the distinction has to be made. What happened in the past and what's happening now. What is happening now is not a generation problem. It's a problem of government not finding the required foreign exchange to buy fuel in order to feed.
Well, they say they're replacing transformers. I'll let you hold on with that because there's going to be an audit of the cash waterfall mechanism, and that was supposed to streamline how we're able to distribute the revenue that ECG collects to all the power players, and so the IPPs in one level and then the SOEs and the generators also on another level. So there was level A and B as agreed by the cash waterfall mechanism. Now this has been running for a number of years now. In fact, if you read the history, you realize that the cash waterfall mechanism was introduced sometime in July 2017. In fact, it was proposed back in 2014, September 2014. There were conversations about the need to securitize mechanisms to facilitate private sector investment in the Ghana gas industry. Conversations were had, and then in 2017, there was finally some cabinet approval for it to be presented in Parliament, and finally was done in October 2017. But it did not get approval until May 2019. And since then, there's supposed to be some mechanism that ECG uses to ensure that it pays all its power players. ECG is said to have defaulted a number of times per the PURC reports that have come out. But here is the finance minister indicating that there's going to be an audit of this cash waterfall mechanism. And that's supposed to also bring about some transparency, give us a better understanding of what the challenges are, and see how ECG can ensure that all the monies that it's collecting would be used to pay the power players. And that's not the only one. He also touched on the need for us to have only one collection account for ECG, as against the 61 that was mentioned by PRC in its latest report as well. So let's listen to what the minister had to say, and we'll come back and have that conversation.
The energy sector continues to be our Achilles heels, and the current outages is quite disturbing. We are not happy about it ourselves. But the problems in the energy sector have accumulated for years. We have addressed some of these challenges, but some of them are also emerging that needs immediate attention. To bring accountability and transparency to bear on the cash waterfall mechanism, we have started auditing the cash waterfall, and we are also required to publish the findings from the audit. We've already done one audit and we've published the findings. We are going to continue to do that so that we can bring transparency and accountability, so that all revenues meant for the cash waterfall goes to the cash waterfall for the purpose for which it was created. We've also established a single collection account. Therefore, ECG will not collect revenue through the many accounts that they operate. Everything will come through a single collection account, so it is easier for all of us to track.
And even in today's times where people are paying,
And so that is Honorable Amin Adam. He is the finance minister, and he made that statement yesterday when he addressed the media. And I want to find out from you what you make of the situation. First of all, good morning to Solly Adams, to Nelson Yesuto Kofi Akotia, and also to ARGRD. He says, I'm watching from Michigan. Well, good to hear that at least where you are, there's no doom. So great wonder for me. That's from Kasim Etua Apere. And Nelson Yesuto also says, good morning. Michael Azusime says, this Doomsaw timetable matter is at a point of where I think even if the timetable is out, this Doomsaw won't respect the timetable. Julie Belinda, good morning. Ejaya, welcome. Setadai as well, welcome. And Tete says that Tete Jobua Okutu says Doomsaw and Ashaman is worsening day in, day out. It's becoming unbearable. Okay, well, hello, please. I want to wish my dad a happy birthday tomorrow. Okay, Ayum Nadu, you can send your dad's photo and your message to our WhatsApp lines, and tomorrow we'll project his photo. But we're also expecting Mr. Charles Bisu. He's the MPP parliamentary candidate for a Sikado Ketan constituency, and we hope that he's able to join us soon. But Wanda, this is what the minister is saying, that at this point, we're looking at auditing the cash waterfall mechanism. This won't be the first time that it's being audited. The report was already put out, and it showed clearly that we were having issues with raising revenue to be able to pay the industry players. We're back again having this conversation about auditing the cash waterfall mechanism. Clearly, it hasn't worked. Yeah,
it's not as if it hasn't worked. Some people within the sector don't want it to work.
Who are those people?
And I should be talking to people like the ECG themselves. We have just seen a report of the PRC sanctioning members of their board for some infractions of the lay-down procedure when it comes to the cash waterfall. My problem, and I need to state this clearly, is that auditing the cash waterfall mechanism has been done over and over, especially the PRC. If you look at the PRC report for 2023 August, it's clear that the PRC has stated clearly that the ECG has not complied with the directive of the cash waterfall mechanism. Yeah. As a matter of fact, if you look at the table of sharing or the distribution of sharing, you will realize that what they collected versus what they gave out was far less than what was given out. Where do those monies go to? In any case, in 2023 alone, the ECG made losses of 2 billion in 9 months. 2 billion Ghana cedis of losses in 9 months. However, in a particular month, in that very month where they were supposed to do the distribution where they didn't do it, they only collected revenue of about 1.1 million Ghana cedis. Now, if 1.1 billion Ghana cedis, and you're making losses in 9 months of how much? 2 billion? That's a lot. That's scary. So the difficulty with this proposal is that our concern is how does government make more revenue? You're auditing accounts, you're closing down accounts, you want to collect in one basket. Good. But that is not an increase in revenue. And the challenge we have is 1, revenue leakages, 2, the revenue itself that is being collected, they have to expand their scope. We were told when they went after this, Dodowa and the other enclave was in so many areas that they were not paying, electricity bills, and that when they pay, it will increase and all that. We have seen some short up of the figures. I mean, when the app was introduced and all that. But relatively, nothing has happened. The losses are far more than what they are supposed to collect, and they are not able to also give us the power we need. Today, people are asking for timetable. It's not because it's a luxury. No, it is because it's just a basic right that I have electricity in my home, I can produce, I can take care of my children, I can take care of my home, my business. Everybody needs it. I walked into TV3 here this morning and I saw that your plant was on, full blast. And I'm asking myself, how much are you spending for this morning alone on power? Now go beyond that. And the real challenge has to do with government not finding the money. They don't have the money. Look, go to all the sectors of the various, sectors of the economy. You will realize that government is in debt everywhere, from ministries of roads and highways, from Gov't fund, from education, from health. The government is bankrupt.
Is it that they're bankrupt, or maybe they have the money but they're competing needs? Because we know that the finance ministry has to provide some 200 million to the cash waterfall to support.
They never do it.
Payments.
In fact, in that PRC report, there was a directive to the Ministry of Finance to pay up their entitlement. Sorry, their component that was supposed to be paid by the Ministry of Energy. That has not been paid.
Is it because they don't have money, or there are other competing needs?
Even if they had money,
they're supposed to channel that into.
Even if you had the money, and which we know they had the money because under the period we know how much money came to the economy. It's used for very frivolous ventures. Very frivolous. You can't pay 200 million Ghana cedis, but you are willing to pay over $200 million for cathedral. Where is the priority? And you see, the point again has to be made that under the MPP government, all they needed was to get the power plants running. Because they have told us that under the NDC, we have procured more than was necessary or needed. So if we have procured more than, which is the generation capacity, we have increased that, and all you need to do is to buy fuel, service the plants for them to work, and you can't do that. That's complete incompetence. That's failure. And we should be calling for the head of the Minister of Energy to resign. We should be calling for the head of ECG to resign, Gridco.
Why should they resign?
For the first time in this country, Gridco and ECG are up in arms. First time, 2 state institutions, funded by the state, created by the state, paid by the state, for the first time, to the extent that the President of the Republic has to step into the field. Where did we get this from? Where did we go wrong? That we are paying you to deliver a certain service. We're paying you to work on our behalf. You're not using your personal money. ECG director doesn't use their personal monies. Gridco, they don't use their personal money. PORC, they don't use that. That is funded by the state. And for the first time, 2 state institutions that are supposed to collaborate to produce a service are up in arms against each other.
And that's why the energy minister should go?
Now, I think that is failure on leadership. Where did we go wrong? At what point did we have a situation where two independent institutions that are supposed to work hand in hand? In fact, the act that brought them into being stated clearly how they should correlate in terms of work. For the first time, we have this chaos in this country, and we think that is not bad leadership. But by now, everybody should be fired. We should clear everybody out of the place and get the place going, because their incompetence, their infighting, their troubles is affecting the country at large.
But I've heard people say over time, and this won't be the first time that we're calling for the head of a leader of one institution or the other. And
I'm not even calling for head, I'm calling for an overhaul.
A complete overhaul?
A complete overhaul, because we don't see the competence.
ECG of Ministry of Energy?
ECG, Ministry of Energy. Gridco, yes, because their complaint has been that we give you the power, yet you are not able to, pay up. So why should we continue giving?
So Gridco is not at fault then?
Gridco is not at fault, because when the power is generated by the power producers, they are able to do the transmission. And the transmission gets to ECG. ECG does the distribution, and the distribution is where the problem is. So all the meters that are faulty is ECG, all the houses that are not connected is ECG, the rural electrification project, which is not, as expected, is ECG, all the 40 transformers is ECG, and all the poles that are falling off is ECG.
But if they let them go, how does that solve the problem of revenue generation?
Because get in competent people. I have always stated that, we don't only have ECG in this country as distribution. We have NEDCO in the northern part of Ghana. NEDCO doesn't have this problem as much as ECG does. And I feel that we have grown to a point where ECG has to be narrowly scoped now. Either take only Greater Accra and Kumasi or Ashanti, and then get somebody else to take the other regions, so that we can easily have a hands-on management approach to all of this. Because the country has really grown bigger in terms of energy consumption since we started. So if we have grown beyond the mandate of ECG, grown beyond their capacity, grown beyond their ability to cover the projects, I mean, cut it off. Get them to do Greater Accra, which is large enough. Get another one to do Ashanti, which is large enough. Or do Greater Accra and Volta together. Greater Accra, Volta, central region, at the down part of Ghana together. Get another company to do the middle belt. Get another company to do the third. The third
Would
one.
that mean privatization?
It doesn't mean, no, it doesn't mean. It's just another creation of government entity to manage. Even if it was privatization and it works for our life to be on, it works for us to increase revenue, it works for us for better governance, so be it. But at the end of the day, we are not looking at ways and means to increase revenue. Number two, one of the causes of this challenge is the depreciation of the cedi. Because now you have to get so much money to buy dollar in order to import crude or light crude or one light or whatever you want to call it to feed the plant. Ghana Gas is not going to sit down and ask you to pay them in Ghana cedis when all that they are doing is in dollars. So the depreciation of the cedi itself is a culminating effect in what is happening. Number two, you have realized that fuel prices have just been increased. They have not been increased because it was increased on the world price market. That's not the basis.
Why did they go up?
The main basis is that our cedi is depreciating. It's looking bad. You now need more cedis to buy $1. In the past, under President John Dramani Mahama, 3.8 to buy $1. Today, we are looking at 13 Ghana cedis to buy $1. How do you account for the shortfalls? How do you get it? You need to find the money. And in finding the money, you will make what you call exchange rate losses. And if you are making exchange rate losses from 4.8, like 3.8 to 13 Ghana cedis today, you should see the margin. So really, we have a challenge. And the challenge, a lot has to do with revenue generation. And I discovered that, do you know that ECG has 61 bank accounts?
PRC has stated it.
61 bank accounts.
It was 37 before.
For what purpose? For what purpose?
They shouldn't have 61 bank accounts.
What? Are they the only companies in this country? There are companies receiving higher revenues than that. They don't even have those number of accounts. At least maximum 3. In fact, if you even want to regionalize it, you should have 16, maybe per region.
16.
I'm just thinking.
You are thinking. So that means that you don't necessarily agree with the fact that it should just be one.
No,
because there are other sector players who have said
it's difficult to manage one account.
But the minister has said it himself that ECG should have just one revenue collection account.
That's different.
Okay.
Revenue collection account is different from bank account.
It's different, okay.
So revenue collection, for instance, Haftel is doing something for them by now. The ECG app is doing something for them. They will collect the revenues into a basement.
Okay.
But that is offloaded into a bank account. We are saying that the duplication of bank account is actually a recipe for fraud.
Why do you say that?
Yeah, because if I pay today and it goes to an account in, say, Bank A, another one goes to Bank B, another one to Bank 3, it leaves a lot of work for the audit committee or the audit to do. And they are humans. There can always be an oversight. Imagine the number of people that queue to buy ECG every second or every month or every week or every day. And then we have to be tracking all these accounts. Sometimes they even pay, it doesn't reflect. You have to walk all the bank and you have to be sure of the transaction code and all that and reference code. And all. It's difficult. That is difficult. That we know is difficult, managing that number of accounts. However, if we have, say, limited accounts, say about 3, say about 4, say about 5, or you want to create one for each region, so that you know that in Greater Accra, all the revenues we are collecting goes to Cow Bank or to First Atlantic. At the end of the day, it's easy to manage because you know that all revenues from Greater Accra, this is where it goes. And number two, it also helps government and the ECG to also track consumption levels of each of the regions and where we should pay attention to. Today, we are moving car power Ameri plants to Kumasi. Why are we doing that? Because we have seen that power consumption in Ashanti has gone up, and transmitting power from Western region all the way to that place was difficult. And if you understand a little bit of ECG, when power travels through a cable for a long time, there are losses.
Okay.
There's a resistance in the cable that makes you lose power. So, for instance, if I put an air condition here and the outer unit is somewhere on the other side, I'll consume more electricity than the one whose outer unit is closer.
Okay.
Because as it goes through the cables, there's heating process and all that, and then you lose power. So it makes sense to take it there. However, in doing that, should give you an idea that that is why we need to micromanage some of these things in order to avoid losses, in order to increase revenue, in order for us to be able to really give out the best that we want to give to this country.
Okay.
But this business of every day we talk, why is the finance minister waiting for IMF to be they want to give this directive? There have been several calls on this matter. Audit cash waterfall mechanism, close that account down, make sure that it's done, punish those who are not paying for it, and then you sit down until IMF gives a directive. And I was very embarrassed when he said that this is a directive from the IMF.
Why should you be embarrassed? I mean, we've all known that that's been a directive from IMF.
I don't need a white man. I don't need a white man to tell me.
The Dumso is dealing with you this way.
Of course. I don't need a white man to tell me what to do. We have brains. We have gone to school. We have been asked to do a job. You are qualified to do the job. Do the job. Do you need a white man to tell you that you should go and audit? But
that's the problem, because it has been a requirement. This whole cash waterfall mechanism thing has been a requirement from the IMF when we agreed on that thing. ECG clearly has not stuck by it.
So who is cracking the whip? Who must crack the whip? Who appointed the ECG boss or all the other ones there? Who did? Whoever did should be held accountable. And I think the president should be held accountable for some of this mess. Unfortunately, when he came on air to talk about this, he was calling for a truce. The president is calling for a truce and asking Ghanaians to bear with him and all that. He's asking them, Gov't and ECG, issue directive and instructions. And certain things should be done now.
Should he not call for a truce? He's asking Ghanaians to be patient so they fix the problem.
That's different. Then he said that ECG and Gov't should work hand in hand.
Should they not?
Is that something he's to tell us? Is that not what the requirement is for those institutions? It's not something subject to the president's opinion or view. It is something that the act that brought them into being says they must do. ECG and Gov't cannot decide on their own to go separate ways because they work together.
Well, we're expecting Mr. Charles Bissiu. If you're close to him, you have his number. Please call him, let him know that his seat is empty and he needs to come and respond on behalf of government. He's the MPP parliamentary candidate for Esikado Ketan. If you just joined us, we're having a conversation about the cash waterfall mechanism and the call by the finance minister designate. Yes, and thank you for that correction. I've forgotten your name. I saw that message on the stream indicating that point of correction, he's not the finance minister yet. We understand. But he's calling for an audit of the cash waterfall mechanism. And he's also saying that there should be only one revenue collection account by the ECG so that we can have some transparency and accountability when it comes to how much money we're collecting and distributing to the various industry players who make it possible for us to have power in this country. Now, Alice Abrokwa says, okay, what is a better option? And that's response to Nelson saying that we have to vote the NPP out. Now, Master Planner Junior Kintampo says the lights have been stable for over 6 days now. It was on Sunday evening that the lights went off during a heavy downpour. Aside that, the light is still on here in Kintampo. The power outages will surely be a thing of the past nationwide soonest. Okay, Efo Sedem, it is awful and funny how these irresponsible leaders of Ghana think we must have having lights is a privilege. Meanwhile, this is something we pay for and even get taxed on. Most of us need this light to work daily in order to cater for our families. So please do something about it. Well, that's why we're having a conversation to see what can be done. Along the line, we'll see if we can speak to one of the CSOs on energy to also share their thoughts on what the minister said and whether they agree to it or not. Smooth Eric says, what pains me? No, I'll skip that message. I still don't understand why the NDC communicators keep talking about the same system. You kept us in Dumso from 2012 to 2017. This recent one is less than 3 months, and look at the way you allowed. Then you turn around to advocate for the old regime. Where did you leave this expertise when we suffered the worst form of Dumso? That's from Aguma Sebastian.
I want to respond to that. You see, there's a certain misconception about what happened under our tenure and what is happening right now. What happened under our tenure was a combination of underinvestment in the power sector. If you remember, and this energy crisis didn't start with the NDC. It started way back, even before we got into 1992. I think the first one was in 1984 or something, if I'm not mistaken. Now, by the 2013, 2014 going, it became worse because government has not invested much in the power sector in terms of generation capacity. You recall that even under President Kufuor, There were times that the lights were off. Pastors were even taken to Akosombo to go and pray for the water. That's how bad it was. Then under President Kufuor, we had some importation of some plants. We call them those cat power generators in Tema at the time. So we didn't have a consistent investment in terms of generation capacity. And there are 3 levels. 1 is the generation capacity, 2 is transmission, and 3 is the distribution. So the generation is done by the likes of the power producers. Now we have independent power producers added to the government ones, like VRA, Pong, VRA, Akosombo, then you have the others. Then we have the thermal plants like Sona, Sogli, the TAPCO, and all the others that came on stream, including Car Power and Ameri.
Yeah.
Now, at the time when we were in government, because we were not producing much, not because we couldn't buy fuel, because we were not producing much power, you cannot give it out. If the power is not produced, it cannot be transmitted and it cannot be distributed. So we decided to increase the generation capacity. In other words, have more plants to produce more power. That took some time. Obviously, it will take some time. For all governments, it takes some time because to build a power plant that is meant for your use is different from just going on the market and buying a generator to plug in your house. You are talking about power produced for a country. No, you must take care of the transmission lines. You must find out where you are going to dock the ship because normally it will be on the ship. You have to dock it and it has to be closer to the sea and all that. Many things come into play. That took some time to be done. And by the time we were leaving power in 2016, we had done that. And that's why the MPP cannot even take credit for what they are doing now. Taking Ameri plant all the way to Kumasi and then Car Power to Kumasi and then you rename it. Rename it under a different name.
But the industry players will say there's nothing wrong with renaming it.
Yeah. What is wrong is the deceit. What is wrong about that is the deceit about it. That this is not a plan. This is not something you have brought into Ghana. Keep the name. What's the business of changing name? How does changing name put water in my, power in my home? What's the business about changing it? If the idea is to produce power for our country. Somebody has brought in the plant. You bastardized it. You said it was not good. You said it was over. We had procured more than necessary. Today you have the effrontery, or you are embarrassed enough to take it somewhere else, use it, and then you are changing the name so that Ghanaians don't know who brought it.
Is there a need to still maintain the name Ameri? We had an agreement with them.
Is there a need to change it?
Hold on. Well, so should they not have named this Kumasi one? I mean, there was an agreement. After 5 years or so, it becomes ours, right?
Yes.
And so once it becomes ours, we have that power to change the name so that we separate it from Ameri. So
I don't want to go into. These are minor issues. Changing name is a minor issue.
Yeah, but you've been drumming on this. That's why I'm asking you.
I'm saying that. Don't make it look as if you procured it. You didn't procure it. Moving a plant from one point to the other doesn't make you the one who procured this. Another government, one visionary government under John Dramani Mahama, procured it. And you said this was useless. Is that not what they said? Didn't they tell us that when they come to government, they will cancel it? Didn't they tell us that? AXA has just been signed, and they said the take-or-pay policy was so bad. However, AXA's agreement also has the take-or-pay policy right in there. So the pretense about this is what is costing us. It's not. I'm not even interested in what name they call it. But I'm saying that somebody was visionary enough to have brought that power into Ghana. Today we have enough. Why are we not able to solve the Doomsday problem? If indeed they claim that we didn't solve it, how has this surfaced all of a sudden? And this government have always failed anytime the real originators of a policy are out of the face. Even in terms of our statistics, in terms of the figures on the economy, it started looking good only when they came to government, because IMF was in place, because the previous government had put in the system for that to be realized. When they came on their own, everything collapsed. Till today, everything collapsed, including the power sector. When we claimed that we solved it, they said we didn't solve it. Now that the reality is in their face, they are failing. And their own has to do with inability to procure fuel, period.
Well, ECG says it's about the transformers, but let's take a look at our power generation as at yesterday, 10 p.m. and this morning. Thank you, Paparo, for this. Oliver, if you can project it so we take a look. Now, ideally, peak power demand is supposed to be 3,618. That's the new rate shortfall for it. As at 10 p.m. yesterday, which is the 22nd of April, if you look at how much we had generated and the number of units, Akosombo, for example, had used about 6 units and was generating 959. You go to Pong Gas and it used 4 units, 144 megawatts of power was generated. Bui Solar is not generating at all. Bui BU54, 179 is using the G1, G3, and G4 units. And then Sonabel 103. Now let's take a look at the latest figures this morning. And so as at 10 p.m. yesterday, the total megawatts that was generated was 3,295 megawatts. Now with the latest this morning as at 7 a.m., we have generated 2,656.2 megawatts. And if you go to Akosombo, it's still on 6 units, but it is generating 833. In fact, so it's reduced from last night to this morning, 823. Then you go to Pong Gas, 4 units, it's producing 144 megawatts. That's its total load. And then you take a look at TAPCO, for example, 3 units, 254, and it goes on and on and on. So that means that there's some load this morning, and so there's some pressure this morning, so it has reduced. In fact, this morning when I was leaving home, my lights went off. On me. I had to come and complete the rest of my dress up here in the studio. So it is quite a serious problem. And Gridco, we're told, has written to the Ministry of Energy, and it has indicated that it is going to shed about 500 megawatts every day this week, per what John Jinapo, the MP for Yapekusugu, had said yesterday. Now, if that's the case, should it not be easier for us to have a timetable? Because at least we know that every day there's going to be 500 megawatts of load that will be shed off.
Yeah, certainly this can pave way for the, but ECG cannot say that they didn't know about this, and that's where the pretense is. To you and I, the ordinary man, we don't know about this. But every day ECG tells, you are looking at the dashboard, ECG tells and is told or knows. If you go to their head office, you will see this same screen there that tells them how much is coming in. So it's not as if it's something they are going to know today. It's just that Gridco is announcing to all of us now that, okay, we will shed off 500 megawatts daily. However, this is known by ECG.
Every day?
Yes, every day.
In fact, 3 times a day?
Yes, and that's why they should know, they know about it, and they should be able to give us the timetable. We asked for timetable. I asked for the resignation of the energy minister. I don't think you agreed with me. But
no, I don't have a statement. I was just asking you why you were asking for him to step down.
This same energy minister today is being written to and told that we are going to shed off 500 megawatts. This is the same person who said that if we want a timetable, we should go and put it out. Are you telling me, in all honesty, that the energy minister is only going to know about this today or yesterday when the letter was written to him? Then it's failure. It's failure. Then he has failed. If he is getting to know only through a letter, then he has failed, because he has this dashboard right in his own office as well. Gridco has it, VRA has it, all the power producers have this on the screen, because this is what is used to calculate the cash waterfall mechanism payment schedule. Who gets what, how much do you get in terms of percentage? For instance, in the August 2023 report, the PRC report, 14% went to VRA, 6.3% went to BU, Ghana Gas got about 14.88, and all the others. So
that's what, January?
No, that's 2023 report of the PRC.
August, or which one?
August, yes,
August, okay,
one.
okay.
That's what they got. So it is this that informs the percentage, distribution.
Yeah.
So you cannot tell me he doesn't know. The finance minister knows about this. The energy minister knows about this, because this is what is used to do the payment for the sharing formula for them at the end of every month when they receive the invoices from the various power producers. So it is worrying, to allow bureaucracy and all these shenanigans to becloud our judgment of what we should deliver as a country. We shouldn't be getting to this level. What does it cost to procure power? There are a lot of fuel distribution companies in this country. A lot of BDCs in this country. If you can't procure, you can even outsource some of those things. So we have regular and constant flow of fuel in order to service our generators. Ghana Gas is right here. The Nigerian gas is also here. What's all this? What's all this? Is it not embarrassing that you have a whole country talking about just procuring fuel for your generators? You can't. That's a mess.
Well, more messages coming in. And again, Mr. Charles Bisu, we're still waiting for you. We'll see if we can connect with Nana Mwesi shortly, so he can also speak to us on what he makes of the finance minister's statement yesterday. And yes, he is the finance minister. So, ridiculous in your wildest imagination. Okay, it looks like there's some disagreements on the timeline. So Neodic says that you've been in power for 7 years now, and you are now telling us that JDM has dubious contracts in the energy sector. Only babies will accept such excuses and lies. NPP is a failure. We suffered terrible power outages from John Dramani Mahama. The NPP government will turn things around and the power outages will pass. That's from Agnes Jima. Agnes, I'm guessing that maybe in your area you probably have constant supply of electricity. Now, Beja says that Beja Nuruddin, or Baja Nuruddin says, seeing Ghana become a hub for foreign investments under Dr. Bawumia's leadership is truly inspiring. Oh, I see. Okay, you're not interested in the conversation. The lights have been stable for some time now in the Ashanti region. NPP is the best political party who's been solving the plight of Ghanaians. Those of you who are watching us from the Ashanti region, let us know if your lights have been stable or not. We would like to hear from you. It's very important. Is Nana Mosi on the line? Is he ready to speak to us this morning? Not yet. Okay, we'll come to the issue of privatization, even though you have mentioned it earlier, and the fact that the Otumfuo has said that at this point, if we cannot manage our power sector, why not just give it to the private sector, because they will be better at, managing the sector. Now, I've also read an article from Nana Nida Kwasante, where he talks about the difficulties that the private sector will have in wanting to come into the energy sector, because if we have these losses, it will be difficult for them to now use that to even get more business, because constantly if you're running losses, there's no way they're going to be able to generate or raise some funds to be able to invest or inject into the sector. So that's where the challenge is. Where do you stand?
I think it's very easy to say that privatize, the sector, but let's look at the antecedents. Energy anywhere in any country, whether elite or non-elite countries, is a security issue. Yeah, for instance, if you hand over your power plants entirely to a private sector and then there's sabotage, you can have problems. Because once ECG is off, you know that all the systems of government are off, including security. So it's not something you really want to offload everything to a private sector. That would be disastrous. But you can have a PPP arrangement, which is public-private sector arrangement, where the private person plays a role in terms of investment, in terms of holding shares in the company, in terms of audits, in terms of good financial standards and all that. But you see, this is a problem we have had for some time now. And everybody is running to private sector. And then anytime the NPP is running to private sector, know that Bawumia has something.
But this is not the NPP, this is the Otumfuo.
No, I'm coming.
Okay.
But they are buying into it. They're quickly buying into it.
Yeah, but that's the Otumfuo saying it.
Don't forget, even under President Kufuor, they attempted this. Even under them, they tried to do this. PDS was one of those. Even though it was revenue assurance, it was one of those. It was a way to steal our money. So when people are quick, and I'm not talking about Otumfuo, with all respect, and I issued that clearly, that I'm not talking about him as a person. I'm only talking about the rush that privatize. No, it's not enough. We have in the past done some privatizations of our state institutions that have eventually collapsed. In Sawan Canary was one of those. It collapsed even after it was privatized. So privatization is not the only solution to some of these problems. And what are the problems in the first place? The problem is not that ECG cannot function. The problem is that we have leaders who are corrupt. We have leaders who oversee institutions that cannot perform, who themselves are not performing, who are there because they are working as hirelings of the president or the vice president, or who are there because they are strong in their own right in terms of appointment. If you appoint the right people and you get them to business, you get them to work, and they are standard, they sign contracts, and they are supposed to live up to a certain or be held to a certain standard of accountability, this won't happen. Now, we have run ECG in this country for many years. Why is it coming up now today that it's only now that they cannot procure power? Don't forget, procurement of fuel is a very, very business-minded issue. If you care to know. The volume of cash that is required to procure this and where you are procuring from, who you are procuring, at what cost you are procuring is a whole matter we don't want to discuss now. Because that is where the challenge is. So if you say give it to a private person, give it to a private person, there's always a hidden agenda. And I have always said that one of the challenges we have had is we have a vice president who is very useless.
Okay, hold on. Let me speak to Nana Mosi, the 7th. He's the executive director for the Institute for Energy Policies. Hello, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Bella.
Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you're doing well.
I am good and well.
All right. Well, I'm sure you've come across that video of the finance minister addressing the media yesterday in D.C., where he says that there's going to be an audit of the cash waterfall mechanism. And in fact, the findings of that report will be published for all to see. This will not be the first time, but he also goes on to say that there's also the need to have a single revenue collection account so that it can provide some transparency and accountability. What do you make of that statement made by the finance minister?
Well, I think it's re-echoing the duty and the regulatory oversight of the PRC. The PRC must, from time to time, audit every system that is within the energy sector, including the utilities. And so the cash waterfall mechanism being one of the numerous structures to ensure an efficient and effective power sector must equally be audited from time to time so that you can assure yourself of the information that is churned out. And if there are any leakages, it's dealt with. That is the right way to go. So he's re-echoing what must be done.
But Dr. Nidako Asante says that really this does not resolve the issue of revenue generation and collection. That is the problem, the fact that we're not able to buy fuel. So talking about auditing and also consolidating the fund really does not address the major problem.
No, yes, it won't address the immediate problem we have. What we have at hand goes beyond the auditing of the cash waterfall mechanism. That is the long-term probably effect that we will see if it's audited. But currently, what we have at hand boils down to financing, the key input and asset of the power sector. And one of these inputs is the fuel dimension, whether natural gas or liquid fuel. It must be financed. And we are struggling to do that. We are equally struggling to pay the utilities on time to be able to carry out their planned maintenance. And Bella, if you don't maintain your car, for instance, as planned, you don't change your filter on time, you don't change your lubrication oil, at a point your car may break down. Then you are forced to go and do a corrective maintenance, which is very expensive. And so today we know that some power plants are down because they don't have fuel. Either they don't have fuel or their plants have been forced to shut down for lack of maintenance, for which reason they must work on them and bring them back. If we are able to solve the liquidity challenge, then I'm sure we'll be out of this wood in the meantime while we seek to find ways to have sustainable revenue generation that is able to meet the expectation of the utilities. Everybody's contribution to the provision of power must be paid for so that there's the assurance that they can also produce the next megawatt for us after when we need it.
But the problem then would be even the Ministry of Finance itself, per the cash waterfall mechanism, is supposed to provide some 200 million Ghana cedis every month to also support the payment of the SOEs and the power generators. If you look at the reports from PRC for January 2024, it states clearly that the Commission wishes to state that MOF has not paid up for shortfalls since August 2023. And so we're having some challenges even with the ministry also not doing its part to ensure that we're able to generate enough to pay these power sector players. And yet they go ahead and say we should audit the cash waterfall mechanism. They clearly know what the challenges are.
Bella, you are right. Any other person that expresses that concern is equally right, because what we have at hand is not cannot be addressed with the auditing of the system immediately. It cannot be immediately addressed. We need something more quick and fast to fix the issue. Then, to have a sustainable revenue generation, I think that call then makes sense for us. The Finance Ministry and the Energy Ministry must work hand in hand so that we can be assured that we are going to have a very strong and robust power sector. in the power sector, what lubricates the sector, what oils the sector, is cash flow. If there are cash flow constraints, then trust me, you can have all the installed megawatts or capacity, have about 20 power plants. They will still not make any sense because some other components comes in to make them more meaningful, including the fuel supply, including the transmission of power, as well as distribution of power. If we're not able to deal with such issues, then we have a challenge. It's a coordinated effort that we must have. And so the finance ministry and the power sector must work hand in hand.
Okay. You're talking about the fact that there's a need to fix the problem almost immediately and look for some quick fix. Dr. Nidako Asante does not agree with that because he says that this is not a quick fix kind of problem. It will take a long time to fix it. If you say that we need to fix it immediately, what exactly does the ECG or PRC, for example, have to do immediately so that we can find a way to raise this revenue?
If he believes that we're going to have this problem for quite a long time, then I'm sure you join the call for a timetable now.
Okay.
We'll brace ourselves for such. But we were thinking that if we could find money to buy fuel immediately, the other plant can come on stream so that the deficit in generation will be resolved. Then the troubles we are having today will be off the discussion while the back office, including himself, the ministry, and all the other players, will work assiduously to ensure that the problem doesn't recur. And so the cash waterfall mechanism comes in, further investment into generation, into transmission, into distribution legs are all necessary to ensure a more sustainable solution to the issue at hand today.
All right.
But at least when I believe if we have fuel, some power plants can come up. I believe if the fuel, some of the fuel available is efficiently allocated, then other plants can generate more than others because we have single cycle and combined cycle power plants. We should prioritize the little that we have today. That is what we have.
All right.
Do that.
Should the energy minister go? My guest here, Wanda Madilo, thinks that he should go. The IES also thinks that he should be let go because of the current power crisis. What do you say?
We believe that the energy minister is overwhelmed by the issues. Let me give you an instance. And we also believe he's distracted at this moment in time. You remember the PRC, first time that he issued notification to UTG to produce a time. We heard him loud and clear, but then if you want to explain, you find this word on the street, you go explain tire. But then we heard him loud and clear. We believe that the energy sector is lacking leadership at this moment. I'm sure the president looked at what has happened over the few months just after his own State of the Nation address, parting himself that we won't have such a challenge and we have not had one. From that moment, it escalated. And then he had to summon everybody at a point in time. And we heard the president was quite furious because he's been misled for a while. And at this moment, I think we need a very effective leadership to address the issues.
But who's misleading him?
The problem cannot solve the issue for us today. That same man cannot solve it.
But if you're saying he's been misled, who is misleading him?
Well, the president sits every day and takes reports from all quarters. But let me tell you something. This doomsday didn't start today.
When did it start?
For many years, since 2018, 2019. In fact, we have been supported largely by the hydro component of the power sector. If you go to the internet and Google power outages, you have it over many years. But then it became worse. Just at the moment the president made the pronouncement that we are okay and we'll never have anything, we don't know which devil came in at this moment to even put, throw us off the GR or probably disturb the president. But I think that it's something that has been sitting for a while, and nobody cared. We sat and kept shouting, excess capacity, excess capacity. Today we are caught pants down. We need to be more proactive. We need to be straightforward with ourselves, admit the issues, and address them. With the power sector, you can't toy with it, Bella. The word pulls you.
And that's what government is doing at the moment? They've been toying?
You and I can tell. I'm not sure that you can also not tell what that is happening. You are a Ghanaian. You live here. Have they even admitted that there is doom so?
No, they haven't.
One way to address your problem, or the key thing is even to accept that there's a problem. Call the problem by name. It means that you acknowledge it. If you don't acknowledge, you can't work at that, Bella. Let me use this example. You go to a doctor and pray that the doctor is not the deaf type of doctor. You go to him, sit before him, and you touch your head and say, "Doctor, my knee is paining me." At least with a sign language, you believe it's your head, and he will give medication, prescribe one to address that ailment. You go home and you still be limping. Why do we have to deceive ourselves? Let's be forthright and let's be straightforward.
All right.
Ask Ghanaians to let's support government to address some of these issues, the theft of power and unwillingness to pay on time the bills that are given to us. It's also contributing to this. So let's do our bit as well. Ghanaians.
All right. Thank you so much, Nana Mwesi, for speaking to us this morning. Nana Mwesi the 7th is the Executive Director for the Institute for Energy Security, and he's been speaking to us about the sector. Let's go back to some messages, and I'm getting a few of them on WhatsApp as well. Good morning. Bella, how would renaming a power plant and rebranding its existing policies be considered more important than the one who conceived the idea and brought the plant? Has the NPP stopped thinking? They're arrogant, even in their failure. And this is from Chris from Ashalibotre. Chris, you said today is your birthday. Happy birthday to you, sir. And also, let me see, there are a few more. Prince Henry Kufuridia says, okay, hold on. The difference is clear between the NDC and NPP. Dumso is back. The NDC brought their Mary. The NPP took pastors to pray around the Akosombo Dam. Dumso now between John Mahama and Nana Bawumia, who is incompetent. Well, that is your statement. And Musa Abatwa says, I totally agree with Wanda Madilo. ECG only distributes power they get from Gridco, who also transmits power they get from power producers, who are also only able to generate power when the right conditions exist. So blaming ECG for current doomsday will be an act of disingenuity. The ultimate responsibility lies on government to provide fuel, which will be supplied to thermal plants in order to produce power. When you say to provide fuel, okay. It is solely the doing of Akufo-Addo and Bawumia, who have completely mismanaged the economy and left the country in debt distress. And, okay, well, I think that's about it. But now the IES is also calling for the minister to go as well. And they think that at this point, there's really no need to keep him in position, especially because of that statement that he has made. But that statement he made, like I said, the Energy Ministry came out and explained that it was misconstrued.
What is misconstrued? I mean, the energy, how many people are in the Energy Ministry against the whole country? That they are the only ones who heard. In any case, are you expecting the Energy Ministry to say, oh, he said it? Is that what you're expecting? PR gimmicks is what we are seeing. Now, what is sad in all this matter is that you have an energy minister who is gunning to be running mate, as it were, from the reports we all hear all over the place, and to be the second in command to another failure of a vice president called Bawumia.
The NPP will disagree with you on that.
They can disagree. The records are obvious and they are clear. Today, he hasn't even spoken about this whole mess we are in. This is a man who in July last year when he was reading out his achievement, said that they have done so well with ECG and that there's no doomsaw and that John Mahama brought doomsaw and they came and solved it and all that. What are we seeing today? And he's been very quiet, very silent about this matter, and a matter that concerns the next government, a matter that concerns the next generation of our country, a matter that concerns your government, under which you are the vice president of the republic. You cannot even make a comment. You can't even make a suggestion. I mean, if I were him, I would even take a dash to ECG, take a dash to GRIDCO, call for a crisis meeting. How do we solve this? What's the way forward? Where is the money? Finance minister, where's the money? In any case, you are the head of the economic management team. So you should be the one talking about how we provide the fiscal space for ECG to be able to for government to procure the fuel required for the power plant. Government needs $50 million every month to procure fuel for our power generators. That's about $650 million Ghana cedis. 650, if you use a flash exchange rate of 13 Ghana cedis, 650 million Ghana cedis is required monthly to procure light crude for our power plants. Government cannot find it. But they have found $200 million. That's about how much? 2.6 billion to do a cathedral. Now, we are told by this same government that under their tenure, they have solved them so. And 30th or somewhere around 30th last month, the energy minister, this same energy minister said, the light off is not because of anything, it's because they have shutting the power plant to make repairs. Doom CC, that's what he said. Yeah. Not doom so. Now, what are we seeing today? Have they still not fixed the so-called transformers? Non-existent transformers. We have not been told where these transformers are. We all live in the community. The power plants, are they not with us? So if you tell me that, okay, Achimota substation is down, we should be able to tell. To date, nobody has told us which substation is down, which transformers are being procured, where they are being procured from, what capacity is being procured, when it will be in Ghana, when it will be fixed, which engineers are working in that space. Nothing. And you think we should believe this kind of governance, this kind of Akufo-Addo-Bawumia-led governance that is so shambolic, that is so reckless, that has spent our money, that has made us gone bankrupt to the extent that we have gone bankrupt on all fronts. Get Fund cannot find money to pay people, contractors. Road Ministry cannot find money to pay contractors. Road Fund cannot. All the funds cannot, including even the District Assembly Common Fund. Where did we go wrong? At what point did this country collapse to the point where we cannot even breathe in this country? Buy fuel has become a problem. You can even have an arrangement with Nigeria. Just next door here, there are several countries that are producing this thing. Have an arrangement and get this thing going.
What are we doing about focusing on solar? Because if you look at a report that was put out yesterday by a team, Burkina Faso, for example, they are about 95% done with their solar generation plants, which will provide about 45% of power to the country. And so it looks as if there's a lot more focus on ensuring that the solar power is utilized, especially in an area where we have so much sunlight. What is the current state in our country, and why are we not developing that to a large extent so that we can rely on that also? Yeah,
solar in terms of renewable energy is good. It's a good thing to go into, but as to whether this reckless government will go into is a different thing altogether. I remember far back under our tenure in 2016, we had done some 2 megawatts in Yampala, if you remember, in the northern region. That was a test project. It was more like see how it works on a larger scale. If it works, then we can go into it. Today we don't see that. We rather see some private individuals, going off the national grid partially to be on solar. Government has made no commitment in that regard. I know that they've launched something recently about solar and all that.
Yeah, the vice president says that when he wins power, he'll focus on solar energy as well.
Why is he talking about when he wins power? He will never win power. That's the truth. With this kind of governance, this kind of lifestyle, this kind of incompetence, this kind of recklessness, this kind of attitude towards work, he will never win power.
You cannot say that factually. I said he will never.
The vice president will never win power in this country.
You can't say that for a fact. You don't know.
I'm saying that because as long as I'm a young person, as long as you are a young person, and we have seen his credentials now.
I see some gray here and here. Well, that one is just aesthetics.
I'm young. As long as we are young and we know what he's capable of, he will never get power in this country. He will never. He can try everything he wants to do. We will resist it with our blood. And now when I say blood, I'm not talking about going to kill ourselves or anything.
So it's not blood.
I mean, I'm talking about, I'm blood.
Okay.
I'm blood. I will resist with all the strength in me. It's figurative. It's with all the strength in me to do that.
You're speaking on behalf of all Ghanaians?
I'm speaking on behalf of young people. Who believe that this government was a failure, who believe that this government has taken us aback, who believes that this government has taken us 10 years backwards and that our lives have retrogressed. There are people who have been working in the public sector for all these years, never increase salaries, yet every month, every 2 months, water bill goes up, electricity bill goes up, and then that of fuel also goes up. Yesterday, GPRT or one of them increased their what's the name?
Price, their transport fares.
Transport fares. And I had to even announce to my staff yesterday that, look, henceforth on the 15th of every month, I'll give you money to shore up your
Was it GPRTU that gave that approval, or it's just some of the units at the car stations? Yeah, because from what we heard, GPRTU, as at yesterday, had not given approval to that.
GPRTU has become very political because government wants to have access in that space. So certainly they will have to consult and do all that. But if I'm a private person and I have my car on the road, I pay the bills. You see, it's not only about fuel. What about cost of repairs? Who buys their tires for them? Who buys their shocks? Who buys all the things? The roads are even poor, in poor conditions. So indeed, fuel increment should not only result in increment of
transport fares.
Transport fares. What is happening is that even at the port, to clear a spare part, how much is it today? To clear a car, how much is it today? So even the investment they make before going to transport is a lot of money, including shipment charges, including clearing of their goods, including spare parts, including all the things that they use.
So are you saying across the country by now they should have increased transport fares and it should have been, an agreed figure for all the car stations?
I will not even be the one to advocate that. We all know that. You have a car, I have a car. We drive on the road. I bought fuel yesterday. I'm sure you bought within the week. You saw how much is it. What about the ordinary man, the ordinary poor man who is carrying the others to work? How do they treat it? This is the reality. We are pretending that it should be normal. It cannot be normal. They are suffering. They are going through challenges. Our roads are bad. The lights are off. There's food is a problem in this country. Inflation is on the ascendancy every now and then. Unemployment is huge in this country, and people are struggling. People are killing themselves because they cannot feed in a day. There are families that have gone so bad in this country, and we should admit it. And the government must admit it. It's as if they don't even see it because the largesse of government funding is available.
But the thing is, so yes, maybe they should go ahead and increase transport fares, but then other Ghanaians will have to pay that increased fare. When a lot of them are also...
That's the cost of bad leadership by the country, by the president, by the vice president.
Which is why GPRT is saying, hold on, let's have that conversation with the ministry. Let's come to an agreement, then we can all implement. But you cannot go and just, on your own, arbitrarily just increase transport fares, because then there's really no, level for all of us.
Is it because it's transport? If you go to the market today to buy tin tomatoes, do they need government approval to increase the price of tin tomatoes because they cleared it at a higher cost? They don't. Why should it be government in terms of transport? Because government is making, in fact, they make even no investment within the transport sector. Apart from doing some few roads here and there and doing rehabilitation of some few roads, what does government give to the drivers? What are the incentives? At least if government was even providing maybe free insurance for all transport companies, organize them in a way. That's why I'm so disappointed in this vice president.
Listen, you seem to be.
This transport thing can be solved I'm a development analyst, so I look at things from a development perspective.
Should I give you time to just wipe?
Yeah,
the energy is quite intense. I'll give you time to wipe your forehead. But the performance tracker will show you the Dumso timetable. Nyo dig ni atukwe kwe. Okay. Thanks. Okay, that's from Nibo Jefferson. Money. I saw your message earlier where you're saying that you don't pay bills monthly in the UK. I realized someone asked you, is it the whole of UK or a specific part? I haven't seen you come back to respond to it, so please do come back and let us understand. Energy diversification is going to help the energy crisis. That's Emmanuel in tow. And okay, Nyame Nehene. Well, I'll skip that message as well. Championing reconciliation and promoting dialogue. Dr. Bawumia stands to be an exceptional figure in promoting peace and unity. Another one says, you are not God to say Bawumia will never become president. Okay. Well, I'll come back to you. I think we have just a few minutes to go. And for those of you who were hoping that your rep and Mr. Charles Bisu will join us in the studio, he had a bit of an emergency, and so unfortunately he could not join us this morning. So he sends his apologies to all who were looking forward to hearing him speak on this matter. But I'm coming to you now, Wanda. Okay, so there are things to do within transport, for instance, to lessen the burden. Number one, you can decide that, hey, henceforth, we're organizing the transport sector. And how are we organizing? Number one, for everybody who wants to be a commercial driver, we have
a portal, we'll have a platform for you to register, and you become a commercial driver. We can give you free insurance. It's not a problem.
Okay.
That's an incentive. That's one. Instead of wasting money on all these, reckless tax reliefs in excess of 5 billion a year, this is something that will affect directly the people.
Okay.
Car insurance, life insurance, and then maybe comprehensive insurance for them. Maybe they pay a part and government foot the other one.
Okay.
That's number one. Number two, you can decide that spare parts imports for commercial vehicles are at a certain lower rate. Commercial vehicles. Then that should be spelled out clearly.
Okay.
That for commercial vehicles.
Okay.
That will lessen their burden. Number three, you promised that you were going to do what you call the Sky Train. It has never come to
No, but that one, they came back later and said that it was not going to be possible.
Oh, so it wasn't going to be possible.
Yes.
So they didn't think well about it. It was on the Thought Well program. For example, then the train system. They have wasted 7 years in office talking about this train thing. We haven't seen any of the trains yet.
We saw one train that was involved in...
They said they were test runs.
It was involved in an accident just last week.
Now, this country, especially Greater Accra, you can actually run this country in a circle. When I say in a circle in terms of transport, the train can go around the city. And in going around, it doesn't have to go through the city. So the outskirts of Greater Accra, you have a train station that goes around.
Okay.
So if I am from, let's say I'm from La, and I'm going to Insawam, I don't need to go through inside Accra.
Okay.
The train can go around, say through Tema, say through to Michelle Camp area, all the way. And then it turns around all the way to... so people just get down, get into the city, get down, go into the city. And it's on time and it's very easy. So we don't have too many cars on the road. And the roads are not also put in a bad shape because now there's an alternative transport for the people. You can also do what Jomama did, which was the bus rapid transit, where you have dedicated lanes for buses coming from maybe outside of the city, and they are carrying more people. So a bus is carrying about 150 people, and the bus has a dedicated lane, which is not, crossed by any commercial vehicle or private vehicle. And so, because a dedicated lane, I take it. I get, if I'm going to Makola, it goes to Makola, I stop, I go off. The bus goes on. It doesn't stop. And then you can use cards to pay as you go, or whatever.
Oh, but the vice president has said
where are the buses?
Well, that's what we're waiting for.
He's only interested in saying that I'm digitizing. What are you digitizing? Digitization is based on a certain system, a certain support system. Where is the system? Which cars? Where are the vehicles? Today, even the Kufuor buses are non-existent. The ones procured by John Muhammad, the Yalolo buses, are also non-existent. The ones that we have invested in STC, so there's a certain mess that you see around this government that is so smelly that you can't even understand how they got here, how they were so reckless with the management of this economy. And that's where we are today.
So you've given a great idea. Are you saying that if the NDC should come to power in the next, we have a couple of months
Of course, I'm a young man in the NDC, and these are the things that we're bringing to the people. These are the things we want to do. We want to ease their pain. We want to return this country to the place of prosperity. We want young people to grow. We want young people to
So we'll have a train around the country.
I am saying
or
that,
around the city.
I am saying that when we get into government, these are some of the things we are going to do to alleviate the poor, the sufferings of the masses.
Okay. Would you go on a demonstration, a Doomsday demonstration at this point as a party?
We are even far beyond that point. We're far beyond that.
When you say far beyond that?
Far beyond means that it has gotten so bad that we don't even have the energy for some of those.
You don't have the energy to go for a Doomsday demonstration?
I'm not the one to suggest. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, remember. So I'm just asking. It's
too bad. This is bad.
Yeah, but if it's bad, would you go on a demonstration?
I will go any day. I will lace my boot any day to do that.
Okay.
As to whether my party's position will be that, I cannot communicate. But I will lace my boot any day for such.
All right.
And also call for the resignation of the vice president, the president, and the energy
minister. At this point, you are calling for the resignation of everybody.
Because it's a mess. Everything is a mess.
So everybody should go.
Nobody is working.
Okay.
None of them is performing.
I see.
Or you don't see that?
Well, thank you so much.
Do you see that?
Thank you, Wanda, for joining us this morning. Wanda Madilo is an energy committee member for the NDC.
I'm not an energy committee member.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, development analyst. Okay. The way you're talking, it looks like incoming energy minister or incoming transport minister. Which one do you prefer? Say it now. Maybe.
Whatever destiny has for me, I will take it. I'm not lobbying for.
So any other ministry you don't mind? You won't lobby.
Whatever God
you won't lobby for any position.
Whatever God gives me.
But what is on your heart?
I'm in my lane.
I see. Interesting. Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning. And again, Mr. Charles Bisu could not join us. He had an emergency quite late this morning, and so he could not make it into the studio. But thank you all so much for joining us also on our streams. I've read quite a number of messages, and I hope that you enjoy the conversation. Let's keep it going. Of course, share with us what your Dumso challenges are, and let's hope that is either we get a timetable as soon as possible or a solution is brought upon us by this government. We're waiting in earnest for the audit report of the cash waterfall mechanism, and also we'll wait for more details on what is going to be done. We'll be back with more. There's a conversation coming up with Roland Walker as well. Let me just give you some details about that. We're talking about digital literacy in Ghana, and we'll have Divine Pe. He's a senior program officer for Africa Education Watch. Bernard Kafui Sokwe, Meister, co-founder of Jambo Spaces, and Kezia Asiedua Sani, who is the founder and president for the Future Ghana. We'll be joining him in the studio for that conversation.